slide, you have to start every shading with the lightest pencil. Also, when drawing, you must draw very lightly so that you're able to control your shading, especially where the light source is coming from. So, I'm going to start the drawing using the HB pencil. Alright. Carefully observe how I'm going to tackle the drawing. I'm going to start with a very basic shape. The work that you're about to shape is called an apple a day. So I'm going to start drawing the task an apple a day. Sit quietly and observe. First of all, you need to draw your line of horizon. The line of horizon divides the paper into two halves. It gives you a perspective that part of the object is on a flat surface and then part of it is also against a wall. That is the perspective it gives. So always remember that when you're drawing, do not hold the pencil just above the paper. Make sure that this finger is on the paper, and as you move it, the pencil also moves at the same time. It helps you to get a straight line. In this case, the line of horizon. So watch carefully. So this line, as you can see, is your line of horizon. Alright? Make sure your work is balanced to give a viewing pleasure. So first of all, draw a circle. Okay. And out of this circle, I will draw my apple. So I take the circle as the basic shape of the apple. Alright? I take the circle as the basic shape of the apple. Okay. And remember, this is for the purposes of instructions. Okay. So I start drawing my apple from the circle by putting in the right curves. That makes the drawing an apple. The right curves. So there is a curve where the stalk of the apple comes from. The stalk is that part of the apple that comes with the small stick from which the apple was plucked. Okay? And the base of the apple also, there are curves there that you need to draw. So every fruit has its own identifiable curves. If you don't draw it the right way, you may be drawing a different fruit with a different name. So, as you can see, alright, so I have my line of horizon. This is the base. Now, in the drawing, you will notice that the shadow of the object is right in front of the object. It means the light source of that particular apple is coming from behind the apple. So therefore, it will cast the shadow right in front of the apple. Okay? When it's coming from right, it will cast the shadow on the left. When it's coming from the left, it will cast the shadow on the right. In this case, to make it very obvious and easy, I want to choose a light source that is quite easy. So instead of choosing from the light source coming from behind the apple, I will choose the light source either from left or right. But in this case, I want to choose the light source from the left to the right, which is quite easy for everybody. Okay, so first of all, let's start shading. As I gave in the previous instructions, you will always have to shade using the side of the pencil. It means don't use the tip of the pencil. Don't use the tip of the pencil. Use the side of the pencil. So you hold the pencil this way and you start by shading very lightly. Okay, if you shade lighter and you make a mistake in the shading, you are able to clean with the eraser easily. But when you start shading and you start pressing hard, it's very difficult for you to clean. Even though you may clean it, it will leave a shadow of the pencil there, which will affect the shading, especially if you're shading at a part that is not meant to be very dark. Alright, so let's go. So I'm choosing my light source from here. So the shadow will be here. Alright, so what do? I start shading from this part, not dark, but very light. And gradually I build upon to create the value scale within the apple that I have just drawn. Right? At this point, you can start drawing your apple whilst you observe the shading also, so that we make up at the time. So observe the way I'm holding the pencil. I'm not holding it this way. You only hold your pencil this way when you are drawing, and you hold it this way when you are shading. Alright, and I also said in the previous slide that there is something called functional shading. So for the functional shading states that shade your object according to the shape. And what do you see here? The shape of this object is a round. So when you are shading, you move your pencil that way, according to the outline, so that it flows. So functional means move according to the line. So you shade that way, light, don't press. And as you shade, at some point where there is a little bit of the corners, you round your pencil. You'll see that I have actually tried to balance my apple on the paper so that I give a great pleasure. I didn't draw it too big, neither did I draw it too small. I just want to make use of the space proportional to the apple must be proportional to the space provided. The size of the apple must be proportional to the space provided. So that is how you also do it within your sketchbook. So irrespective of the size of the sketchbook, you still have to practice proportion and balance. They are the principle of art. Alright, so you can see that the tone that I'm using is almost the same. It doesn't mean that that is how I will end with it. No, I'll come back and then increase the pressure accordingly until I'm able to achieve a value scale. When the pencil gets blunt, you go back, sharpen it to reveal the graphite, which allows you to shade. Because without that, you will have a pencil, but you may not be able to shade. I hope you're able to see what I'm doing. Again, I am shading the part that is not directly facing the light. I am shading the part that is not directly facing the light. And it is on my right hand side. It means by the time I'm done totally, the shadow should also fall on the flat part of that part of the drawing. So note that when you shade from one particular area where it's not directly facing the light, that is where the shadow will be. You see that when I got to that point, I was trying to shade a bit dark because that part is actually away from the light completely. So the shadow, the darkness will increase more than that part which is on the surface of the apple, because this part is actually hiding from the light totally. If you see the way I'm rounding my arm, this is just to achieve what is called the functional shading, so that by the time I'm done shading the apple, I'll achieve the roundness of the apple without it being flat. It's very important because the main idea for the value scale shading is to render a 2D object 3D on a 2D surface. So if I'm able to achieve the three-dimensional effect, that means I'm able to achieve my aim in the value scale. Okay? If you have any question, you have to ask this question at the end of the video. Don't also forget that in drawing this apple, I employed the shape, okay, which is an element of design. Remember, I employed space, which is an element of design. You could see the series of lines that went into drawing the shape. Alright, so you realize that the element of design, as we have been trying to investigate, joining together to create, that without the element of art and design, no artwork can be achieved. So right now we are doing value, but value cannot exist without a shape. We are doing value cannot exist without a line, value cannot exist without a space. It means all of these elements of design come together, they join together to create what we call art. Alright, so although we are doing value, we are actually making sense of the units joining together to create. So as you can see, you are doing value, but the shape is very important also to let you achieve that value. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to know how to hold a pencil. You should be able to know where your light source comes from and where your shadow will be. Each and every one of them are dependent on where you choose the light source. Will also determine where your shadow will come from or will be. At the end of this lesson, you should know what is a line of horizon, okay? And most importantly, how to model a 2D object to get a 3D effect. All right, so this is the first stage of the shading. I'm going to continue with the second stage or the second phase of the shading. In this particular phase, my aim will be to try and introduce a darker tone, which will help to create that kind of value that will further bring about the 3D effects. So I'm going to start again from where I started from the beginning. All right? I hope you're ready. Okay. So I'm going to now press the pencil further because that is the only way that I can achieve that too. Or I can even change the gradient pencil to aid this particular phase. So which gradient pencil am I choosing? Okay, now I'm choosing grade 4. Okay, grade 4 is important so that I do not really achieve the tone in a hurried manner, because I'll have to come back to place another value on top, and the difference should be gradual. So I'm using grade 4. So as you can see, it's grade 4. Okay, 4B. All right. Remember, you must mark where this will end, or else you may go beyond a particular grade. So for instance, in this case, I want to mark this place that this particular one should end here. Okay, and if I want to continue, that means I have to lessen the pressure. Alright, so that the next grade can also overlap and create a further darker tone and then move gradually. I hope now you are seeing the tones now. Okay. As I've already said, anytime you are in doubt, refer to the previous slide where you find the tips as to how to hold the pencil and how to shade. In case you are seeing lines in my shading, this is likely because I'm using a very big paper, and if I want to go it gradually without a line, it means this video will never end. So bear with me. But on your paper, make sure there are no lines and shade with the side of the pencil as previously told. Remember, this is practicing with the value scale. An apple a day. This is the name for our task today. An apple a day. If you've not eaten an apple, make sure you get an apple. And here, if I get some, I'll eat it. That's fine. You know, because the graphite is the main material for the shading, as you rub the pencil on the surface, it wears out. So gradually you must look out to keep sharpening your pencil to reveal it. The more you reveal the graphite in shading, the more it makes the work very easy. So don't be lazy in shading your pencil. Alright. Alright, I'm done with using the grade 4. I'm going to move on to see if I have grade 5. If I have grade 5, I will use. If I do not have, I'll use grade 6, and I need to now regulate the grade 6 to achieve what I wanted to achieve for me. Okay. Alright, I got grade 5, so I'm using grade 5 now. I'm going to start from the very end, and it's going to be darker than what you see here. Alright, because it is farther from the light. The more closer any of the segments will be to the light, the lighter it will be. But the farther it will be, the darker it will be. In this case, the 5 is very dark, so it's going to be further from the light. That is how you arrange your tones. Alright? Okay. If you doubt, refer to the value scale practice that you did. You realize that there's a darkest part right down to the lightest part. And in that case, that part is almost here. You need a bit of concentration to actually know what you're doing. If you lose concentration, you will place the wrong value at the wrong part of the drawing. And that is going to actually distort your work because it's not going to make any scientific sense. Remember, this is also scientific, dealing with light. Okay? You don't see a shadow right closer to light. It's always at the opposite part of the light. Once you've been observing, I keep holding my pencil this way. I never held it this way because I'm not drawing, I'm shading. Okay, see? This way. Alright? Alright. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. What that means is that if you keep eating fruits, you build your immune system, and then the tendency for you to get sick is very low. That's the name of an apple a day. Apple is very rich in vitamin C. So every morning, just try to get an apple and enjoy. This apple that we have here, you can't eat it as big as it is. The reason why I'm shading the opposite part with this is that it is known in science that light travels in a rectilinear direction or in a straight line. So when light is traveling and there is a groove, the light will not bend, it will continue going straight. So it will hit the opposite side, okay, which is directly towards the light, and then it will render the other part dark. So when you are shading something that is very hollow, is that part which the light comes straight, that gets lighter, and then the opposite of that becomes darker. So you shade a groove darker because it is a groove and the light is moving straight. So the light will hit this part. It will hit this part of the groove, but it will not bend unless a reflected light. The reflected lights are not as much as a direct light. Okay. Alright, at this point I want to do my shadow. Now, the shadow also has stages. The part of the shadow that comes directly under the object, it's called total shadow. The one that moves away from directly under the object is called partial shadow. And then the fading shadow. The fading shadow is where it blends onto the surface without actually seeing a definite line around it. So let's move on. So the light came from here, okay? So it is casting the whole of this object, its shadow, at the back of it. Alright? If it had moved from here, this whole thing that you see will flip and the shadow also come here. So right now, here is your torchlight and it's shining, okay? But there will be a little more of a dark, a bit of a dark right from here because this part is not directly on the light, okay? And it's not going to be as much as it is with here. This is just to achieve what is called a highlight. The highlight is the part that really gets most of the light. That is the direct part of the light. It's the direct part which receives the light. So that part receives the light and then reflects it. Or it bounces the light back. So that part is called the highlight. The highlight. Okay, let's do the shadow now. Now, in doing the shadow, there is one part which is called reflected light. It moves around the darkest parts. Okay? So in doing that, you shade another line, leaving a thin outline, a very thin outline. It doesn't mean that the light came from there, but it's a reflected light which went beyond this object. It went beyond this object and then it reflected back. But it's not very strong enough to behave like this. and that is represented with a very thin white line. Okay, and it adds on to give that part of shading called 3D or three-dimensional. Okay, you do this before you do the shadow. Okay, so the shadow starts from here. Let me take a different pencil. We try to do a higher tone. Yes, 6. What I'm going to do is to control it. I determine what it should give me, what value it should give me. I control the pencil doesn't control me. Okay? Good. So as I told you, it starts very dark under the object, okay? Because right under the object, there is no light there. So it shows higher contrast. You realize that in the previous slide, I had explained what a higher contrast is. A higher contrast is where the difference between the light and the dark are huge, okay? And the low contrast is where the tones are distributed evenly without much difference. And that one, you can easily count the tones. The shadow under the object is very deep because it only creates contrast, because it's not directly facing the light, which is why you're able to find a very dark tone under the object. When you're shading the shadow, you do press the pencil. Of course, you need to press it to get a darker tone. Alright, but as it moves from under the object, it starts to what is called the partial shadow. It means it's not going to be as dark as you started. Note. And don't forget that you are trying to achieve value, the value. So value simply states that where there is light, there's a distribution of tones in relation to distance. So it means the farther it goes, then it reduces in intensity. But the closer the object is, it increases in intensity. It means there is more light. And that is what most of the times it creates the high contrast. Alright. We are coming close to shading. I want you to know that this is not the best but it's for teaching purposes, for you to really get to know the various tones. The lines you see are due to the fact that the object is way bigger and the medium is small. But I expect you to do without line, to shape without line, because you have a very small surface that you are working from, so you can manage that particular object. The most important thing is that you're able to vary the tones and get to know that you are able to see grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 in the shading. That is very important. And that makes the whole value a value scale, if you're able to identify those tones. Remember, this is applicable to coloring with your color pencil, coloring with your crayons, coloring with your pastel. You apply the same principle. You apply the same principle. Press hard when you want to get the darker tone and press light when you want the lighter tone. And always start shading lighter and build on the tones as you move on with any media or medium you apply in that particular way. So the whole process is coming to an end, but it cannot come to an end without the last bit of it, which I'm about to show you now. Remember that when you are shading the shadow of a round object, try as much as possible to achieve a roundness in the shadow. If it's on a polished surface, it will reflect before the shadow. But it's on an opaque surface. That is how we take it. Okay? This video will be available in your folder, so you can always go and refer and then move on. Of course, the slides too, they give you the instructions that you can follow. Alright, so having gotten your light source, your shadow, this is the flat surface or a plain surface that the apple is standing on or being placed. Okay, so you can shade the background. Of course, when you shade the background, you shade it vertically and then you shade the floor horizontally to depict the wall and the floor or a table against a projected background. Alright, so I'm going to demonstrate how to shade the background. Okay, so I'll move to this side. Okay, so you shade again, you begin with shading lighter. Okay, shade lighter almost of the same tone, shade vertically. Shade vertically. When it's getting close to the object, make sure that it is not darker than the object, or when it's getting darker, you stop and you create that reflected light so that you are able to see the object at the same time the background. Okay, so you start shading the dark tone. You show variation in tones, which is called the value scale. Okay. The background also means the same, so that the whole work actually gets to the point which is called harmony or uniform. Alright. Note that as the tone moves higher, it becomes lighter. Okay. Don't shade with lines. You have a very small material or surface you're working on, so you should be able to manage it and shade without lines. Control your pencil, don't let your pencil control you. Most of the time we allow the pencil to control, so you start complaining. But be very careful that you are the master of the tool. can see. Okay, so as I'm moving towards that side, I need to change my position so it's easy for me. Okay. Again, shape uniformly, center, and then we keep building. But this part need not to be as dark as this place, because of course the light source is coming from here. So how should that place be dark? No, it cannot be dark. But you need to show some kind of variance in terms of tones. So as I keep saying, shape with the side of your pencil. Don't shape with the tip of the pencil. Anytime, try and refer to the parts of the slide that have the tips in terms of the value. So now, this is how we shape the background. As you can see, let's see, do a very some shading for the flat surface. So this place is the foreground. Here, that part is the midground. Here is the midground. This is the foreground. This is the shadow. This is the object, your main object. Okay. This line you see is the line of horizon, and this is the background. All right. So this part, which is closer to you, mostly is darker, because you see more details when objects are closer to you than when they are far. All right. Okay, so our lesson on value regarding an apple a day. This is a demonstration for the shading. I believe that this should help you to do any other work with respect to shading. In the right time, we'll also do the value with respect to painting when you get to that point. Meanwhile, if you have any question, we will meet in class and have the discussions, and you have your questions answered. All right, if you're in doubt, always try also to watch other videos on shading so you can build your skills. All right, thank you.